Welcome to Campus Deep Dive. I am your host, Intel McCoy, and I am here with my guest,
Rashawn Blanding.
All right. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, we already know each other.
Yeah, I don't know why we even said that.
Yeah, it's true, but it's a formality.
Yeah.
But I want to start off asking you a very simple, but potentially hard question, and that is, how was your day?
Whew. My day has been pretty smooth. I've lately been trying to be better about my time management and just like how I shift through things. Relying on more of my fellow choir members. I'm the choir vice president, and I also just have been doing more activities outside of it and stuff like that. In fact, I should have been practicing around this time, but I really wanted to interview with him. That's pretty much the only reason why I wanted to do this time.
Okay.
But I could definitely practice later. All that to say is my day's been pretty cool. Yes.
You're good. I appreciate that. Appreciate you taking the time for sure. So yeah, since you're here for that, I definitely got to turn up the heat on the questions eventually. But we'll get there. But for right now, I just want to ask you. So, how has it been as a senior at FSU so far?
It's complicated because I feel like this year is the peak of my time here, and I think that should be what it is, but the only reason why it became the peak, it was through some very long, tough times I had to deal with. Specifically, my first semester here was the most awkward growing pains I ever felt. I made friends and stuff like that during my freshman year, but it was the most awkward year, and I didn't fully get into my major stuff until the second semester. And then when my major stuff started happening, then the pandemic happened about like 2.5 months later. So like, it was tough going through like about 3 semesters off campus, just me in my house, moving from place to place, going from Virginia, then to Texas, and then back here. So as a senior now, I wanted to make sure I take advantage of the time that I have right now to make an impact on the school as much as I can through my like connections with the art guild and just trying to spread the word about like more positive messages and stuff like that. Have better conversations, you know what I'm saying? Like talk to each other, build a community. So when I'm gone, maybe things will start flourishing even afterwards.
Right.
Or maybe not, but I want to try my best to do what I can. So as a senior, I feel like this is my peak years to do that, and I've been doing that pretty well.
Definitely, I do feel that. And me technically being here 4 years already, I don't have the status of senior, I'm a junior, but it's definitely been a experience that, I don't know, to be honest, I don't know if you can relate to this, but the community at the school doesn't really feel like a community until you make it one yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem. Like that's one of the issues that I feel like we're probably going to touch on. Like that's the main thing with me. I believe that like this school, like on its own, if I didn't talk to no one, I would have the worst time. Or I would have like the most lackluster time with my major. I would have the most lackluster time with like anything I've been doing, because most of my memories have been memories I forged myself, pretty much inside this campus, through my own means.
Right.
Technically with my own money, with like when it comes to Uno and any other game stuff we usually play. Yeah. So like that's usually why I have the best time is when I make my time with the people I know.
Yeah, and back up that it's really fun, especially yesterday. We had a really crazy long discussion about different things. But like just having little talks like that is kind of impactful. It's like you really are slowly building your own community within the school. So I just believe there should be more reinforcement about that, but that's not really my place to say that.
And I think where like we talked about this before, we have frustrations with I don't mind just naming the positions. Frustrations with the RAs, the teachers, any other staff members here, but those people work for the person. I'm not going to say the name, but you already know the implication. Those people work. We are the students. There's there's the staff, and there's the person who's supposed to be helping us foster this community of communication, but it's not happening. And we have to we have to, pull ourselves out of our bootstraps type shit. Try to freaking prove a point that we are here trying to connect, but we're not able to, because a lot of us are either stuck in the culture that is surrounding this campus with I guess apathy and stuff like that. I guess apathy it's like a complex term. If you were to ask me what I mean by that in this campus is wise, it's like, oh, there's this event happening. I'm kind of busy with something else. Oh, there's this thing happening, and I probably could just miss out.
Yeah.
It's a steamroll.
Yep. Yeah, the events don't seem as impactful because there's no promotion or feeling of inclusion when they happen. So, but to just kind of roll back for a second, we do have to appreciate some things about this campus. So,
yeah, definitely.
I want to ask you, so what has been your best experience so far, whether it's something that happened through the school events or just your personal experience so far?
Honestly, I guess it wasn't through school events, but it's technically through the school. My teacher, Dr. Denise Payton, she is the greatest vocal instructor I've ever been to. And she's the only person that's actually believed in me the most. And I promise you, every great experience I've had with my major, my vocal music major, I swear it's all because of her inspiring me. And one of my favorite moments so far was last semester around chamber night. I think it was the last chamber night of the semester. And I sung for that performance. And she said that was my most, that was one of my the strongest performance I ever had. Almost saying that was the greatest performance I ever fucking had. And I was like, yo, I never felt so, because even when I was on stage, I felt so great about it. And then in reinforcing that fact from her mouth too, and she never sugarcoats with me. She always tells me how it is.
That's good. We need definitely more figures like that, and it's impactful when you have a teacher or a professor that can play that role.
Yeah.
So now,
shout out to Mama P.
For sure. Now that we've talked about the school for a little bit, of course, Campus Deep Dive is about the person. So let's take a deeper dive into Rashawn. All right. So starting off with this area, would you consider yourself an introverted person or an extroverted person? And give me a specific reason why.
I can't say I fully identify with both. People are tricked by my appearances sometimes. I can seem like an extroverted person, but bro, sometimes I might stutter a little bit. When sometimes I get into crowds, I disassociate so much, and I have a limit. If I have a good amount of people around me, if I'm going to a party, right? And it's really flooded with a bunch of people, I need to have about 10 friends. 5 people I really, really, really know, and about 5 other people I can just be called acquaintances, but I've seen their faces before. Where I can just be able to be in that area. And I think that's why I still think I'm on the middle. I'm in the dead center of that, because it depends on how my mood is the day. And I think that's why I would say I'm just in the middle. I don't know what that name is. Term.
I don't know either, but So you're more of an in-betweener. Okay. So with that being said, and I don't, what's the guy's name? Quay, right?
Yeah, Quay.
Okay. So going off of what he said yesterday,
Yeah.
you know, we talked about this for a little bit, but so in your personal experience, as long as it's, you know, of course, PG, what has been your love language, and has it worked so far in this climate?
It's hard out here for me because like I have a hard time making conversation with girls sometimes because sometimes I either talk too much or I get too in my own head and I don't talk too much at all, or talk too much and talk too little. I literally could just said that.
So let's dive deeper into that part specifically. So the talk, either talk too much or talk too little specifically. You know, let's throw away the girl part for a second. Let's take you into the situation. So yeah, definitely. So why do you think it is that you either talk too much or talk too little?
I think it's a matter of anxiety because sometimes I can like have moments where I do overcompensate with anxiety. Like specifically when I talk too much, I'm nervous. I want to try to learn the person as much as I can, but sometimes I don't let there be breathing points where I could have probably let them just take a breath and like maybe instead of bombarding with more questions or just talking and talking and talking. And I mean, it's not like I don't have a natural idea where I can stop, but sometimes when I recognize when to stop, it might be too late. And I think it's a matter of perspective because some people really do like hearing me talk. I think I understand that, like, I do value that now. Like, there is a possibility people just like hearing me talk, but sometimes I can overpower someone. And I recently went through something where like somebody told me that like I always talked about my feelings a lot, and not really giving them time to breathe to really talk about them, or ask about their days, or ask about what they like to do, and go do this deep dive into like them, to their personality and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's like one thing I know I'm trying to improve on. Now, too little, sometimes I hold myself back. I might just take myself out. Like not really expressing as much, just waiting for them to respond. But sometimes they're not the people to have a back and forth conversation as much. So sometimes I might just bring myself too much in where I could just loosen up. And most of the time when I do bring myself too much in, I do recognize it. And then I start like correcting it and it usually goes well. But you know, that's just how it is for me.
Right, yeah. I would agree with I would say that I used to have the same problem with you know, feeling like I'm talking too much. Because there'll be points where I feel like it could be in class, you know, talking to a person, you know, or a girl. But it's like points where I feel as if I'm rambling for too long. And it's like this feeling where in your head it's like, oh dang, did I just say too much?
Right.
Or should I have held that information back? But it's also something within yourself that you have to realize that it comes from inside to have that reassurance that what you're saying is not too much. It depends who takes the message, what you're trying to say.
Yeah, and I think it's a person-to-person thing.
Exactly.
And with that person that like told me that I was like too much on my feelings and stuff like that, I do recognize now that like I need to be a little bit better about recognizing people's agency. And it's not like I'm trying to be a control freak. I don't want to throw too much shade, but that's what my mom is sometimes. But I would say that like I need to realize that like I don't need to take accountability for literally everything in a conversation. Sometimes I gotta let people do things on their own. And I do have a habit of like overpowering, even though I'm like, some people call me soft-spoken, some people call me very intense, and it just depends on how I'm feeling that day.
Right.
Depends on how much I know you.
Yeah. So from you know what I'm hearing, it just sounds like learning time and place, or like how to regulate that certain thing, and think about whether or not you really do know that person or not, and do they really want to hear that information. because some people really don't, and they just sit there through it. So it's like you gotta realize who really cares.
Yeah.
But you figured it out by talking too much too sometimes, because they stick around after that. Then But let's switch the topic once again, and I wanna come back once again to you. So, what is your talent list look like? Because we didn't talk about the little bit a little bit about the negatives, because that's But let's talk about the great talents that you have, because I know you have a lot of them.
Singing, acting is a work in progress.
Now you're getting there for sure. Yeah.
I mean, not apathy. My empathy. You would call me an empath by trendy standards. I mean, I could say that. It's a very. I kind of hate saying it because it makes me feel kind of corny, but at the same time, that's the best way you can understand. Because I recognize recognize how people feel or feel about me just by certain cues that I've been seeing pretty often. I talk to a lot of people and been in a lot of places. I know how to see. I know how like different situations might relate to each other, and that's where that empathy comes from. I would say my leadership skills. I think I've been becoming really sharp at that. Dancing. Did I say dancing already?
No.
Dancing. Video editing is actually pretty decent. Not the best. It's not something I work on all the time. Piano. I've been working with that. Writing songs, that's something I can do too.
Okay. So, question off of that. Have you ever wrote a song about a person? You don't have to specify.
Yes.
That was a lot quicker than I expected. But
because I don't think it's that big of a deal, because when you are a creative like I am, when it comes to like being in touch with music and stuff like that, it depends on creative to creative though, because like sometimes that type of thing is a bit personal, and I can see how that could be personal. I recognized that just now while I was saying it. But like, I do believe it's okay to just write about somebody. Sometimes I write about like 3 songs. A couple of them got lost in the wind because my problem is that I don't put them in a document. I put them to paper, and then sometimes it gets on a piece of paper because I am pretty clumsy. So I might just mess it up on accident. But there is like a couple of songs I wrote about like one person in particular. And then I wrote about like certain family members, people I liked, somebody I used to know, like this, not the, I like the song,
that was a good reference right there. Okay.
But like seriously, I mean, I wrote about so much things.
Yeah. So, overall, what are you planning to take these talents, whether it's the singing portion, the acting portion? Like, what is your big goal?
I want to keep on performing professionally, and I also want to start producing my own music, or having my music more produced around, so I can start getting something out there, get my name out there. I don't really think I want fame that bad, but it would be nice for like a community of people to recognize me when I'm just walking across the street. That's a pretty nice thing. Not the greatest thing ever, because I've seen how other people react to it, and I've seen how like certain communities might get toxic over a while, depending on the person, depending on it is. But I think I want to just keep on performing. And I want to get to a point where I get paid for it.
Right.
Like a pretty good amount of money, so I can like not have to work a regular ass job, because that's for the birds. I mean, but like if I need to, I'll just like do a sound job before sound jobs, like sound engineering, because I'm actually pretty good at sound engineering. That's another thing I can do. And I can just get paid for that, like working with certain theaters. Yeah. Okay.
And to wrap it off, I want you to take the time. I know you go between, being called a very soft-spoken or, intense person, but knowing yourself, what is a message you would want to give, the audience that could either improve or help, or whatever message you want to send off to somebody that is similar to you or somebody that's different, whatever message you want to give off before we close the show?
One thing I understand, the hardest thing about being in a community like this is that if you're exactly like me and you're seeing, because it might not be shown right now, but I'm a little bit taller than him by height, just standing up. And but I'm also just a really nice guy at the same time. But sometimes that throws people off. And if you have the situation like that, or if you got a certain something perceived about you, don't let that bog you down or control you into what you can do and what you can't do. You don't always have to prove yourself. I know being black, black or a person of color or a woman in this day and age, you have to feel like you need to prove something. And I believe any marginalized person, anybody out there who's trying to understand and trying to prove themselves, I don't think you always have to. You don't have to always fight. Sometimes I think it's just better to understand what you can do for yourself now. And when you have to do something like that, then make sure that you have the self-confidence to be able to do it in the best way possible, because your health matters, your mental health matters, you matter.
All right, that's a good way to wrap it up. I ain't gonna lie, that was a really deep one. Well, this concludes another episode of Campus Deep Dive, and I will see you on another episode soon.